I'm going to try to tell you how do how I fix a table with $0 while injured with only a drill and a screwdriver. Screwdriver is pretty useless. I don't like to pry stuff apart. And we had no wood. I'm not making a trip to Home Depot. It's not my table. It's not broken from any. I'm repairing it for somebody else. They don't have money for their own table. I don't got money for their table, but I was able to repair it in a funny way. It's very strong. First, I cleaned it up and screwed it and glued it. Yes, screwed it and glued it. But the way the screws are, the leg's not gonna hold like that forever with weight. It's a heavy table. I can't lift it while injured. We have to get it back up. He does, and he's weak. So that leg's gonna have to take at least a decent amount of weight. So I glue it and screw it and brace it. Now, normally I would take a trip to Home Depot, do the proper repairs, buy another table, but, well, not able to work thanks to somebody else's choices, not able to use a shelter, not able to collect Social Security. I'm not going to pay for a freaking table I don't need. And I don't have money for a table anyway, so it's a moot point. Now you might be wondering, well, you said there was no wood. How are you going to brace it? What are you going to use? A lampshade? No, no, that wouldn't do at all. I usually either use a knife and carve my own strong wood out of something super strong I find on the ground, or luckily there was a good hard piece of stake wood I was able to find while walking. I put on top of a old rotted piece of stake wood. This was a much better piece of stake wood. Looked like it came from the hardware store. I don't know what they were using it for, but it wasn't in the ground no more. Side of the road. Just big enough to stick in your pocket, not too big though. Never knew whatever I fucking needed for. But anyways, I brought it a couple of feet, threw it near the house. I was like, oh yeah, that's gonna be great. So I go get this little piece of wood. It's not gonna fit, obviously. It has to be trimmed up. Also, it needs holes, and it needs to be braced, glued, and screwed. I mean, this table is fucking broken to pieces. This isn't just a broken leg. This is a leg that broke like 4 times. This is a leg that's been broken for a while. We're just re-breaking. Tired of seeing that leg. Tired of that table. But you know what? It's a table. As long as it holds weight, that's all that matters. So, needs a work. How am I gonna cut this piece of wood? A steak knife? No, this is strong wood. If it was cheaper wood, I could cut it with maybe a bread knives do good as a saw if you really need one, but you can never use it for bread again. It has to be your saw. So you're junking a good bread knife. So, no. I know. It's gonna get drilled to death. Yes, I'm gonna drill it and hit it. I'm hurt. I can't use my foot. I can't smash anything. I can't do a break. There's not much I can do. But what I can do, 5 holes on this side, 5 holes on this side, and fuck you, bang, broken right on the line. Just move my arm slowly in the right direction against the corner, and looks like it got sawed off. Give it a little rub against a rough rock, some cement or something until it's sanded down. Give it a little cleanup with a knife. Stick it on top. Make sure that it goes right in the right position. Make sure it has the holes. Make sure you make the pilot holes. Make sure the other one's been dried, glued, and screwed. Make sure everything's ready. Glue and screw that in place. Let that dry and flip it over and make sure the brace goes in the corner and you don't keep too much weight on it. And that's how you use $0, zero wood, zero tools other than a drill to literally do a serious repair to a table that's been broken several times, that is just unrepairable no matter how many screws or glues you put back into that. It's split down every foundation. The bolts are broken down the foundation. There's no way you're getting this thing to do nothing. You screw it from the side and top, you're still fucked. It needs to have some type of support holding that bolt into place, something holding it together. The bolt isn't holding it together, and it will never hold it together. The glue, no matter how strong it is, flipping this table around and holding weight with that built in the way that the leg pops outwards. It's not on the inside of the table, it's on the outside of the table. Who builds a frickin' table where the legs go on the outside of the support? So if any bolt ever, like anything cracks, the whole leg pops out. Who would build a table with that type of design? You usually build the legs to be on the inside of the frame, not the outside of the frame. But this company has their design, the legs are kind of built so they're on the outside of the framing. So if there's no support, there's nothing. They push outwards, not inwards. Most tables, they push inwards because of the way they're built, the leg, because they're put on the inside of the box. But these legs, there's a little indent square on each corner, so the leg goes literally on the outside of the box, and the box isn't perfect. On each corner of this box, it has an indent for the leg. But if the leg support or bolt gets weak or cracks, then there is nothing to hold nothing there. And it would need a whole trip. It's just better to buy another table. But me? No. No, we're not throwing this thing away. I'm not buying one. He's not buying one. You got a Zach. Even though I'm hurt, just throw that fucking table on the ground. Go get me a piece of wood. You don't know where a piece of wood? I'll go get the damn piece of wood. Stay out of my way. I'll be on the ground. Yeah, I'm hurt. I can't do this from the chair. I'll be on the ground. I gotta make some holes. I gotta glue and screw. We have to take some naps. Yep, the glue gotta dry. Get back up. Glue and screw. Fix. And in 2 days, your table's back up and running. Ow, that kind of hurt. Oh, fuck. I got my eyes closed. I got my kidneys flat on the fucking bed. I'm trying my best. I took my Triliptal. It kicked in. Not really doing the trick. I'm trying to keep a positive attitude about it, but other people's total bullshit attitude really doesn't help. Plus, people just don't want to do their jobs today. So many people just wanting to smoke pot, vacation, fuck around. I mean, like doctors that can't listen to their patients, doctors that don't want to doctor, police that don't want to police, judges that don't want to judge, fathers that don't want to father, sons that don't want to act like kids. You got just so much out there. It's fucking nuts. You got gas station attendants who don't want to take up an order. You got people at McDonald's who don't want to take up an order. You got so much. Actually, I've never had that, but I've heard other people say that they've ordered and got shit at a drive-through, like a total stoned idiot at a drive-through that doesn't want to or take an order. I don't know. I've never had that problem, but it's just a lot. And I've worked in these industries, well, while having seizures and getting injured, by the way. And usually, once my disabilities are apparent, it becomes almost impossible without paperwork or documentation. What I am doing, I'm doing it, but somebody else is doing something totally different. My father and mother are doing one thing. Meanwhile, I'm trying to get healthy. I don't know what the fuck they're trying to do. It sounds like just run away and keep their lives going or something. I don't know why. My mother's now not alive, and plenty of people know that this is real. I mean, it's not like I'm making up that my mother admitted to giving me extra medication and saying that it's okay to give children extra medication as punishments or otherwise in front of my sister, her husband, my father, and me. I mean, I was horrified from that. My sister was horrified. My sister's husband was horrified. My father was, I don't know, in La La Land, and my mother was just spouting crazy shit. So, I mean, this should happen, and I don't like it, but I'm handling it, but there's no way to possibly, swim through my father's and mother's bullshit without them at least trying to admit to what's going on. I mean, my father really could just move on with his life after I don't know how long. That's up to him, the doctors, the Social Security people, the work, the job I take. I definitely don't want to stay up here forever. I do got a good job for now, but it's not good enough, and it's in a climate that will probably kill me in no time. I don't know how much more I can hold on in a climate like this with a neurological disorder like this, but I'm doing my best. The doctors also suck in New Hampshire. They're doing their best, and I guess they're getting better. They did all right, some of them. Then my father started talking, and then I saw a lot of crazy shit happen. Then they started getting all right a little. Some of the doctors still acting a little weird, and it makes sense to me. It's not weird to me, but if to the outside world, if you're next to me at my doctor's office, or you hear or read the records, you're like, who the fuck is your doctor? What gym class do you go to? I have no idea what the fuck these doctors are talking about. I don't belong to a gym. It's supposed to say, do not lift order. I don't know what this gym is. I have no idea. This is the worst fucking paper I ever got. There's so many of them, but that one's just clearly crazy. The doctor gave me oh, I don't. Zachary is excused from gym class. How stupid is that? When I am asking for a do not lift order for my company so we don't get fined for the Coca-Cola or any Pepsi on the floor. That was fully explained. They understood everything. It's not like there was a misunderstanding here. Just complete morons. People not wanting to do their jobs once again. I get home, I call them, they tell me it's going to take some time, and then they bullshit me for a couple weeks. Yeah. Why do you think they do stuff like that? Because they read on my file, Zach's a bullshitter. It's a fantasy. It's a lie. He's crazy. Yes, his mother and father have put it in stone that he is completely nuts. They've had him institutionalized. They've had him get naked in front of people while in a mental hospital. They've had him injected. They've had him put on drugs. And why? Because he's some crazy serial killer. Oh, yes. He's a fire setter, my mother said. And what did I do that made my mother think all this? Oh, I burned a slug. Oh my god, I burned some slug slime. And did they catch me doing this? No. I did an experiment, a scientific method experiment, holding one match to slug slime, and then told my father about it. So I need to be put into a mental institution. I should get naked in front of these people. They should check my bum hole for cigarettes and contraband when my mother and father visit. And then I should be locked away in a stone room with a crazy kid. And then I should be held down and given double doses of medication because this crazy kid wants to make up stories about my medication. And my mother has me on so many medications that I'm already drooling to shit. And I don't know how. I have uppers, downers, I have sidewaysers, I have everything. I got Ritalin, I got Xanax, I got Seroquel, I got Thorazine, I got a little bit of Lamictal and Risperidone making my nipples drip. Yeah, I got some milk coming out of my nipples, and my mother thinks that's perfectly fine. So with all that going on, then I get a double dose. They give me a second dose of these meds because of my roommate making up a story. Oh, and what does my mother and father think? We're helping him. We did this for you, Zach. Yeah, we made up stories, over exaggerated, had pills, needles, drugs put into you, had you get naked in front of strangers, because we love you. Meanwhile, my father and mother are drinking. My mother later is taking pills like my Xanax. She's also later, when I get older, I realize what's going on. She's popping my Vicodin, gets caught, and I know what's wrong. But she's also doing other stuff with other pills that I can't even tell my father about. So there's a lot of craziness. And my mother's talking about how giving extra medication to me during childhood in Westford and just over and over and over, that's perfectly fine. And these are extra medications. These are full bottles. These are overdose medications. These are opiates and her own medications and over the counter medications. But that's perfectly fine to do to an orphan child at the age of 7, she says. And she said it just like this. So what? I gave him extra medicine. Then I asked him, so you think it's okay to give a child extra medication? And she said, yes. And she understood the question exactly. Everybody in the room was horrified but my father. He was in La La Land. I don't know how. I don't know how he's in La La. I don't understand how he did not understand the fucking question. And how he did missed his wife say those two statements. And what me and my sister and her husband were horrified about was that I got hurt. And what she did was true. And she meant what she was saying because I was there. So let's not pretend now that this is some fucking fantasy after we've had hundreds of witnesses, teachers, people come up to me and talk to me about it and then go, poor, poor kid. Teachers in Worcester, teachers in Westford. There's so many people that discussed my neurological disorder, my mother acting crazy, the giving me of pills, giving me overdoses, then calling it an allergy attack and not letting it actually be called an overdose. I had to find that out later. When I actually talk to doctors as an adult, because my mother just continues to lie and she won't let me see doctors. She's continuing to try to avoid to let me talk to doctors after she knows I'm already saying this to doctors in front of her. So let's not pretend. Let's not try to believe my father's excuses. Let's not try to believe it's a fantasy, it's a lie, he's psycho. Well, how about your wife doing all this fucking shit that hundreds of people have seen with their own eyes, and they're asking me, why is your mother acting nuts? I'm sorry, I don't know. Why don't you ask my father why my mother's acting nuts and have him answer that question? And then the school calls them, and then they just fight, fight, fight. And nobody ever gives me an answer. They're coming to me asking questions. What the fuck am I supposed to say? I'm getting hurt. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I'm being lied to too. You think my mother's telling me anything? You think my father's telling me anything? You think no, they're lying to me. They're not telling me about overdoses and that medication is wrong and don't give the child extra medication and extra Epicac is wrong and don't give him all these extra medications. They're not saying don't give him our medications and mix them in. Hey, maybe we should bring him to a doctor because of these medications. No, none of that is going on. It's my mother creating psychological fantasies to feed her own fantasies, taking away swimming medals from a child, whatever the hell thrills her. Goddamn, she took a golden toy that was her kid's favorite because she said she thought I liked it more than her. That's jealousy, for goodness sake. My mother was jealous of my toys. Oh my God. And not only that, when I tried to show my mother my swimming medal from the orphanage, she stole it and made up fantasies to the doctor and got me drugged even more and made up more and more fantasies. She stole, literally, her son's accomplishment out of his hand and then made up fantasies about it, making him cry. That is the worst thing I can think of, but it has long-term consequences, and that's just the beginning. We're not even at age 18, 31. At 31, actually, let's go back to in my 20s. I'm living in the woods having seizures, or we can even go back 3 years ago to my 29 or something like that. We can where I'm having seizures on the side of the road and cars are running over my hair and I'm having scars on the side of my face and on my body all over. We can go on to, let's go back to age 10ish, 9ish. I'm in the middle of the woods of New Mexico. Well, not the middle of the woods. I'm on the edge of a field. The kids are playing. One staff member is actually out there for a short amount of time. I curl up to a tree. The girl's cold and wanders off, but I can't stand up and play with her today. So I go behind the tree. I'm shaking awfully. I'm cold. Start trying to tuck my head into the jacket. But then all of a sudden I shake. I kind of like spasm to the back of the tree, like my back kind of hits the tree. And then I just don't remember very much other than a staff member waking me up. I remember being fucking cold as a rock and not really being able to move very much. A staff member wanting to try to carry me in, but halfway there being like, you gotta walk, you gotta walk. So, anyways, um, I was pretty, I had like a bruise on my head, and all they did was give me a hot chocolate, put a blanket over my head, no ambulance, nothing. And they told me, do you know you were out there 2 hours more than the other kids? We did count looking for you. We had no idea that you were right there at the edge. At least you were in the field. That's the first tree in the field, so we were allowed to sit up against that tree. And that's most of the time, it doesn't matter because most of the time it was free range, and that means you can just wander free, and then nobody will be watching you. Free range time, just they will watch you from the window. That's free range. That's when you just go into the woods, you wander, and they'll ring a bell or yell, and if you don't come back soon after you hear that bell or a yell, you're in frickin' shit. So, anyways, yeah, we always could talk about that. I didn't know what to call that, any of that. I wasn't allowed to get medical care, and I wasn't even allowed to go to school. Neither. I got to have some lessons from a staff member because the teacher quit, and this program was trying to start up a program. It wasn't open yet. Where the rattlesnakes and the red ants were, is where the pool was going to go a couple years after I left. Where the dirt bike mud pit was, that's where the new building was going to go. They already built an office for the office management and some, I guess it's a staff hangout or for when the parents come over for Christmas. We actually were barely ever allowed in there. I think there was a Christmas party we were allowed in there. We had almost no clue what was in there. And then there was like a storage shed that had a bunch of junk in it. One kid used to try to sneak off to the storage shed and he used to find some special stick that looked like a gun. And just a lot of mud there was a broken basketball court, so it had no basketball tar left. It just grew through. This was like jungle up there. This was jungle. We're talking about tarantulas, the many black bear families. Yeah, well, one and two big black bears that came all the time. At least we used to call them mommy and daddy. Maybe it was the same black bear, and then a bunch of small ones. So, and we used to collect the poop for scavenger hunts or the paw prints or stuff. Or, I mean, there was different stuff. We had to find something from an animal, and the bear poop was around quite often. There was also a bunch of these small little cat thingies, but luckily we only saw those once while with the staff member hiking. And lots of tarantulas, lizards, red ant hills, and rattlesnakes, and shitloads of black widows to the point where they were under the sink in the bathroom, and the staffs identified it with me. I said, I think that's a black widow. They said, how did I know? I said, it has the black hourglass. No, I said the red hourglass with the black skin, and it's right here in the book. And they went and they looked at the book real quick and they're like, really? I said, yes, but the red hourglass is underneath. The book says it's supposed to be on the back. And the staff said, really? So the staff member went, looked under the sink and said, Zach, you're right. I said, you're going to get rid of it? They said, no. And they left it there. And they said, you kids don't touch the spider under the sink. So we didn't. But outside, they did catch a black widow and the kids were playing with it under the cup. They did get caught by the African American staff, but he said it was okay to play with, as long as you were careful that it didn't jump at you. I don't understand. I left that party. I stood far away from that party, a bunch of kids with their heads close to a cup with a black widow underneath. Oh my God. I was with my little girlfriend a good 2 feet back watching the idiots. I used to love watching the idiots. One time we found a tarantula hole, but we used to look for lizards, and we knew there was a tarantula in there. Three of us knew that. And this other kid came and said, "No, it's a lizard." Stuck his hand in, and the frickin' thing stuck his two fangs through the kid's finger. The kid like pulled it out. The tarantula came out of the hole, looked at him, and went back in the hole. We all laughed. He said, "You're a fucking idiot. We told you. You don't put the hand in until you lure it out. You give it some crickets. You give it some smaller bugs. You got to go hunting. You got to go hunting for the crickets and the grasshoppers. Then you bring the crickets and the grasshoppers to feed it. It comes out, and if it's a lizard, you catch it. If it's a big ass spider, we don't want to touch it. Me and my little girl over here, we don't want to touch it." "Well, you should have told us if it was a tarantula." We did. And then he went whining to the staff, "I got bit by a tarantula." And the staff members did nothing. They did absolutely nothing for him. They told him, "Don't stick your hands into holes." Oh yeah, I learned a lot of lessons there. Not That's the education I got. I didn't get 2 plus 2. I didn't get X plus Z equals Y. I didn't get any of that shit. I got, "Don't stick your fucking hand in a hole." Ow, 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 ow. Ho, ho. Okay, okay.